If you're looking for an emerging resources company that is perfectly situated to take advantage of record gold prices and the big Canadian resurgence to develop critical resources, then look no further than Renforth Resources, which trades in Canada under RFR, for friends in the US, RFH, RF, and for friends in Germany and Europe, 9RR, because Renforth is advancing not one, but two flagship assets in one of the most mining friendly locations in the world, Quebec's Abitibi mining district. For example, their Parbec Gold Deposit right now has 280,000 ounces of gold, with indicated being 101,000 ounces. I'm just kind of rounding down, and inferred just over 177,000 ounces. Multiply that by $4,500 gold in Canadian dollars, and you're starting to see some big numbers. But what's even better is a new 43101 is expected very soon. Investors have been waiting on all that. So hopefully we're going to see a rise in that number. And secondly, their Malartic Metals Package spans 300 square kilometers and is full of critical minerals. We're going to talk about that. So with over $5.5 billion in M&A around Renforth over the last few years, the company is in the right place at the right time. And that's why we're happy to welcome Nicole Brewster, the CEO. Welcome, Nicole. Welcome to Agoracom.
Hey, George. Thanks very much. Thrilled to be here and appreciate everyone listening in.
So big picture. Let's start off there first. Between the price of gold hitting record highs in both US dollars and Canadian dollars, and this resurgence we've seen now in the last 45 days, love him or hate him, Trump has kind of ignited all governments now, from the left to the right, to really focusing on resource development in order to make Canada stronger. How good are you feeling about Renforth Resources right now? How good should your shareholders be feeling?
Well, I feel fantastic, frankly. We have a proven gold resource, which, as you said, we will be updating in the very near future, sitting adjacent to what was Canada's largest open pit gold mine, which is now going underground, with much less production, yet the ability to process much more material than they have. The owner of that, Agnico Eagle, is active on M&A in our area, as you alluded to, or didn't allude, you said. So that's fantastic. I mean, the price of gold, our logistics advantage is ridiculous. And it's one thing for gold where it's hard to not make money right now from the operating miner's perspective. They're making it hand over fist. But when you look at our Malartic Metals Package nearby, that's a polymetallic. The most advanced part of that is a nickel sulfide polymetallic, and the logistics advantage delivers us such cost savings on every level that is going to make that property I maintain. I mean, if you want, I can show you what I'm talking about. It's a really cool map.
Yeah, in 1 second. In 1 second, I want to get to
One
that.
second. Okay.
Yeah, because I want to make sure we lead everyone down and really understand it. So you've got it all, like you say. You've got the metals, you got the minerals, you've got the location, which is Quebec. You got the neighborhood, and that's what we're going to take a look at here in a second. And we can talk about the whole package, or Parbec, which is right beside Agnico Eagle's Canadian Malartic mine. It's Canada's largest open pit mine, as you said. You want to bring that up on screen for everyone to look at?
Well, yeah, and I want to actually add something I forgot. You just twigged it when you mentioned Quebec. It is a fantastic jurisdiction. You cannot ignore that. It's usually ranked in the very top by the Fraser Institute when they rank
Yeah.
mining jurisdictions. Security of property, law, taxation, everything is very critical. As well, we've got onshoring, friendshoring, access to resources not owned by China when we're speaking about critical minerals. The other thing, and it only happened last week, the Quebec government has announced new stimulus programs for critical minerals exploration, which I think we'll benefit from as well. We've received a grant the year before, but they're continuing their overt support, which is unique to my knowledge and very much welcome. So yeah, the government's not on the map. That's why I wanted to mention that.
Yep, but another great tailwind. Being in Quebec is just fantastic for so many reasons. But yeah, go ahead and share that map so we can. And you got a couple of maps, but let's look at this one first because this is a really good indication of the neighborhood.
It is. And there's actually a lot happening on here, and arguably it's a bit busy. However, let's first look down in the bottom left hand, and I don't know if you can see my cursor
Yep.
floating around. Yeah.
Yep.
So Toronto, when I drive to the project, I'm about 8.5 hours by road in my Jeep onto right here, right on Victoria where we were drilling, or I can sit right on top of the Parbec Gold Deposit. We're 12 hours by, from New York. We're 6 hours to Montreal. Montreal has deep water ports. It also has the Quebec battery, like little battery sphere they're building is on the south side of the St. Lawrence there as well. So we're very well located. The highway here is the
What's that
northern
line
route.
go right through the middle so everyone knows? Because we can see Parbec above, Malartic. Just to let everyone know, what is that
Okay, so
big
we've
black
got
line go
two
right through the middle?
we've got two lines. The dash black line is the Cadillac Break. Cadillac Break is a crustal scale fault that starts in Kirkland Lake in Ontario, travels several hundred kilometers to east of Val d'Or in Quebec. Along this Cadillac Break, it is very, very well mineralized. You see mines, showings, current and historic mines every kilometer or so. Deep-seated structures, primarily a gold structure. However, it's worth noting Laurent Mine, which was the original asset of Agnico Eagle, produces gold. It's a gold mine, but it actually produces a lot of copper as well. So base metals are not out of the picture. We also have not too far away the Horn Smelter owned by Glencore, currently processing e-waste, available to take any kind of mineralization. I've heard that some of my neighbors are looking to direct ship material to the Horn. So, that's interesting because that for Victoria, there's the smelter. Canadian Malartic, it's
What I
it's
love is all those yellow dots,
yeah.
Nicole,
Well,
that just
Canadian
basically says,
Malartic has several of the yellow dots. And so
right,
Parbec is the little green box. We have 1.8 kilometers of the Cadillac Break strike on the property. Next door, that's the former East Amphi mine. And then that's the Canadian Malartic Super Pit, which was 4 kilometers long, 400 meters deep. And then you come to the east a little bit and you've got Odyssey, which is what they're mining right now underground. So that little district, they are their own district, is all Agnico right there. They're also operating the Goldex mine. They've closed the Lapa mine. They're operating the Laurel mine. And Wasamac,
surrounded. You're surrounded.
Wasamac, way over here is Agnico's property. And they just acquired the Marban Alliance of '03 right over here. So we're surrounded. Parbec, like I said, the road goes through it. This other gray line that's under here is the Trans-Canada Highway. So Cadillac, you turn south off the Trans-Canada Highway, you drive right down the middle of our Malartic property, right over the mineralization at Lalonde and Victoria. And running beside that road is a transmission line to the Rapid 7 hydroelectric generating station. There's a second one on the property, which is going to the Rapid 2 hydroelectric generating
They
station.
say in real estate, location, location, location is everything.
Absolutely.
And this just shows that you're not off in the tundra somewhere, off in the woods, off the beaten path. You're right there. If you don't mind, you got another map
Well,
that
but
shows.
let's the one thing, the tundra comment is on point because not only do we work incredibly cheaply in terms of drilling, like
Uh,
we have a gold deposit, we have proven mineralization, we're not exploring, but we're doing our work, and I'll call it exploration, at the best price it could possibly be done. But as we look towards if these properties are going to become mines, if we're going to do PEA statements, the economics of operation come into it. It can't get cheaper than it is right here. Now, the other map I want to show you
I
is what my
love this
neighbor's
one
been
because
up
this is
to.
your M&A map, I think, right?
It is. It is. So Agnico Eagle, which you recall
Wait,
just,
hold on. I don't. That one didn't come up. I think we have to do is stop share on this one and
oh
then
no.
start share
Okay.
with the other one again.
I'm so
It's
sorry,
just a
but
Zoom thing. That's a Zoom thing. The way it works.
I'm not an IT person. Okay. Can you see it now?
This is great. I absolutely love this. Tell us what's
So
going on here.
Agnico Eagle and the Laurel mine, that's where they started. Then Agnico and Yamana, they had the Canadian Malartic mine jointly held. They took over Yamana in conjunction with another company that got Yamana's southern assets, but they took over Yamana. Then they took over '03 to get their Marban open pit deposit in order to put the material through the Canadian Malartic mill, because Canadian Malartic and mining underground at Odyssey will produce less material than they did when they had the open pit. So Marban is going to go here, and they paid a premium not too long ago for that takeover. The other takeover, much older, was when Eldorado came in to Canada and took over Integra to get the Sigma Lamac triangle over in Val d'Or. So it's interesting. Agnico's got material over here at Wasamac, and they're going to have material at Marban, and they're going to have material next door from Odyssey. And they're trying to combine all sorts of material to meet the prior production of the open pit. So it's going to be an interesting process to watch. We have a striking land position with our Malartic Metals package, which I didn't dwell on too much, but it is
Yeah, and
endowed.
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk more. We're doing big picture right now, but
Big
it's just
picture.
clear as day. A picture's worth 1,000 words.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
neighbors to the north, they're neighbors of
Well,
yours to
it's
the east. It's like,
they're our neighbor. Yeah. They're our neighbor all around us at Parbec, and they're neighbors to the north and the east at Malartic. So,
and
yeah,
add up those numbers, that's $5.6 billion in M&A right around you. That's been done since 2017.
yeah.
And actually, if 2023 and 2024 are over 5 billion of that just in the
Right.
last
That's
couple
what
of
I
years.
mean. Integra, if you can dial your memory back, was breathtaking when it happened because Eldorado came in, and correct me, you might recall, but they paid north of $1 a share for a company that had 500 and some odd million shares outstanding. Um, so it was a massive transaction, um, in that it was always presumed there were too many shares out, it wouldn't work. But in gold, the rules change. The numbers, the value, the money that's at stake can facilitate a lot of things. So, yeah, it's an interesting district, but it's of late, Agnico started flexing its muscle. And
Yeah,
I mean, what
and
are they? They're one of the top 6 mining companies in the world, I do think, but they're certainly the top in Canada. And they made a lot of money last quarter, so they've got the muscles to flex.
so now that we've seen, the neighborhood and the area and all that, you can stop sharing that if you like. We'll come back to you and me. Let's get a little more specific. Gold is everyone's mind. Critical minerals are as well, but gold is on everyone's mind. You've got Parbeck right there. Um, Tell us about that. The last resource estimate you had was a few years ago. You get the new one coming up. 280,000 some odd ounces. How is the price of gold, which is more than doubled since then? I think when you guys did it, you guys were using $1,400 gold, I think. Now
Right.
it's 3,100. How much better have things gotten for Parbeck?
Well, the we're adding new drilling. We drilled subsequent to the effective date of the existing resource was December 2019. We drilled 15,000 meters after that. And in doing that, we validated. So we drilled really close to some historic data as well to bring it into the resource. So we're adding some positive data, and we're going from a $1,400 to a $2,100 gold price. Um, we're not going to be
And hold
aggressive.
on, Nicole, for people who are new to this, they might be saying, "Whoa, why 2,100? Gold's trading at
That's
3,100. Why are you
right.
saying 2,100?"
So we only pay attention to the price because when you have an open pit resource, it's an engineering exercise. It's called a whittle pit. That's the brand name. And to make a whittle pit, you take all the drill data and you plug in some economic assumptions, the cost to mine, the value of the rock, and that's how the pit is formed. There are economic considerations in a whittle pit. That's why the price of gold's important. That said, the only impact the price of gold has is incrementally, if the price of gold's going up, it's incrementally adjusting downwards your cutoff grades for in-pit and out-of-pit resources. So it doesn't pay us to be super aggressive with the gold price. First of all, engineers are not aggressive. And we're putting together, we're working with SGS, worldwide company. It's going to be very conservative, deliberately, because it's not a promotional document. This is an actual scientific document that'll get read by very smart people who do this for a living. So we're not going to
And
be
will
aggressive.
incorporate higher prices of gold in
They'll
order to
do their
figure
own
back of the
internal
napkin
stuff.
math, right?
They will do their own internal stuff. They'll take our document and go, thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Give us your data. And once they have our data, then they'll do what they want to do with it. That said, there's no reason to be aggressive with the price of gold. So um, what is the price of gold going to do? We're not going to hijack this little interview and send it out about what we think about the price of gold.
Well,
But
people should know your views though, because you're a veteran. You've
okay,
been
fair enough.
around. You
Fair
know
enough.
how
Fair
are you
enough.
feeling about the price of gold at 3,100? Is this flash in the pan stuff, or is this incremental, a moving machine that can't be stopped?
I do think it's an incremental moving machine. I think, though, there's a lot of chaos theory at work in the world right now, and we are seeing that in the price of gold. Gold's always been very emotional, and whilst we drilled in 2021, it got to the point where people were so down on gold, I didn't update the resource. I was like, there's no point. Nobody wants to hear about it. And even now, we have the gold price rocking and rolling, and the gold junior investors are still pretty thin on the ground. Um, Mining junior investors in general. But I do believe gold's functionality is increasing in the world, where I personally believe the US dollar will not be the world's reserve currency. They've broken trust, they've weaponized their currency, they've done a few things. You're seeing Europe is saying we need to stand on our own 2 feet. The BRICS have formed. China's Belt and Road Initiative, which they've been doing in plain sight for years and nobody cared, is
Mhm.
they're benefiting from that. So I mean, I do think gold will establish itself probably a bit higher than we see right now. I'm not sure that I believe it's going to the stratosphere because unfortunately, gold is a reflection of unrest and you know, when
Neither
people
do I. Yeah, I don't think we need gold to be five or $10,000 an
no,
ounce. I mean,
no,
gold at $3,000 an ounce is great for
look
everybody at the end of the day.
look
Most
at
companies.
look at the beats in the gold mining sector in the last quarter. When they're now, if they're gold miners who believe in what they're doing and they haven't forward sold all their production, we're in a whole different discussion. But if they're getting anything close to current prices of gold, they're laughing all the way to the bank. There's just so much
Well,
money
question:
to be
how
made.
does that make you an even bigger potential takeover target by George Comgo? I'm not going to use one of the major names, so nobody thinks we're trying to drop anything. George Com Gold making gazillions of dollars because I'm mining gold. I'm getting paid $33,000 an ounce. Does that increase because a lot of investors want to know this? Does that increase the prospects of George Com Gold coming along saying, "I like where you're located. I see your neighborhood. I see your real estate. Bam! I want to buy either the gold project or the whole company." That has to make things better, right?
Well, it does, but the company's not for sale right now. Let's be clear. We have Victoria in
Ah,
waiting, and we'll get to that. The gold property might offer a foothold to Canadian companies that need to come back to Canada. For resource nationalism reasons, our government, I think, is going to start to look at where people are working and what they're doing. But a lot of the world's not secure if you're mining at this point in time. It might also give a foothold to bigger companies that want to come in and look at how other companies are making money hand over fist in the area. Um, it also would provide, there are people who come in and they mine small deposits. Wham,
yeah,
bam, thank you, ma'am,
they're
right? Like
making money.
come in, take it and leave. It's possible. There are many, many ways. With the price of gold, it opens up a lot of optionality. That's how I'll say that.
Yeah, because a few years ago, I remember people, well, gold's at 13, 1400. So people said at these gold prices, you got to find 3 million ounces of gold. Otherwise, there's no point in us talking. Now, with gold at $3,100, you can take a 500,000 ounce, open pit kind of project, say, okay, let's just start. It's not that simple. Let's just start scooping and creating cash flow.
Well, you can take a project like Parbec, road access, literally drive to the face, the adit, which is buried. You can't go underground, but you can drive right to it. You reopen the adit, you're underground, or you build the open pit, whichever way you're going to skin that cat. But then you're only driving 15 minutes. If you're going to our neighbor, you're driving less than that to toll milling facilities. There's capacity in the camp. There's not enough material coming out of the ground to keep all the mills full. So it's an economic exercise, but the price of gold only makes the math easier and easier. Or you can be less and less precise with your math because, you know, it's just the price is getting crazy.
You have more margin for error when you got a fatter price.
Well, and we're
When
only
you have,
talking about it in you know, we're doing a bit of double speak here. We're talking about a commodity measured in US dollars, but we're operating in Quebec.
yeah, that's why I said
So
4,500 in my intro. It's four. I
precisely,
actually did a conversion. It's $4,500 an ounce. I
right.
mean,
And
that's
even
pretty
our
significant.
resource statement, our existing resource statement, our new resource statement, everything's done in US dollars, but stop the presses. We can discount all the operating costs because they're in Canadian, and we can also increase the price of the commodity in Canadian terms. So, you know, it
So
becomes,
you're feeling good. You're
oh
feeling
yeah,
good right now. Your shareholders have got to be feeling really good right now. It's been a
oh
long
yeah.
wait, but Renforth is looking really good.
Well, and we're not even going to talk about our surface gold in Ontario. Different conversation. I haven't talked
Yeah.
about that for years. So yeah, gold, I'm pretty happy with gold now.
All right. We'll leave the rest of that conversation because we don't know when, but when we talked to PDAC, you mentioned here the updated resource estimate is going to come out, and you said
I
soon.
told everyone the end of Q1 and I missed because today is April 1st, haha, but it's coming soon.
Yeah, listen, I got to figure if that's the case, you're talking about 1 or 2 weeks of you're off that, and it's not, you're not ordering a pizza. So
No.
it's not like it's coming in 45 minutes. So we'll save the rest of Parbeck discussion. And even your Ontario project, we'll talk
Oh,
about
I
that on
just
the
threw
next
that at
one.
you. I just threw that at you. That's
Yeah,
just
but we'll mention in the next one because that'll be more gold focused because it'll be all Parbeck. Let's switch gears. Your Malartic Metals Package.
right.
That's 300 square kilometers, which includes the 20-kilometer long Victoria structure. You talked about that earlier. People probably said, "What's Victoria?" Right?
Yeah,
Um, let's. You don't have any kind of resource estimate or anything right now, but walk us through why this project is so important in the context of the world and Canada's growing demand for critical minerals. In fact, you just said, Quebec is putting some real emphasis on that, and how your early results uh, give you a lot to look forward to, show a lot of promise.
for sure. I'm going to share something
Sure, I love it.
and
I don't want them looking at me anyway, so the more you share, the better.
less looking at me too. And I have to apologize. I don't know if you can hear them, but my dogs have just decided to be foolish. So
No, no, you've got a directional mic most likely, so all we can hear is you.
perfect. So, Malartic, here it is. And it encompasses a couple of things. You can see how close it is to Parbec, which is, of course, interesting, and Canadian Malartic and all that stuff, as well as La Ronde is up here in the corner. But the main thing we've done here is Victoria. Victoria is 20 kilometers long. We've drilled it from the road to the west for 2.5 kilometers. We put about not quite 10,000 meters of drilling into it, which is abstract. What I will tell you is we'll be working with SGS later this summer to determine if it's enough to declare a maiden resource. This is a new discovery. This is a new nickel sulfide polymetallic discovery in Quebec, and it's a big one. It's 20 kilometers. I feel like we'll have to do a bit more drilling before we declare a maiden resource, but the geoscientists will tell us. Why
What are
is
you
this?
focusing on there, by the way, so everyone knows? What are the critical minerals that are standing out there?
Well, it's a nickel sulfide polymetallic, and what I mean by that, it's really cool, unique in the world, really dumbing it down. It's a style of mineralization where two bodies are intersecting, they're interlayered. This one is nickel, cobalt, platinum, palladium. It's an ultramafic. This one is a VMS with zinc, copper, gold, and silver. And then there's other metals in there too. But they're doing this, which is very unique. They're doing it over 20 kilometers of Victoria, speaking east-west. North-south, we know that this layer occurs 3 times. And then they're doing it again at Lalonde, same material. They're doing it at Fouillac. We have another showing here, north of Lalonde. And we know that this blob between Lalonde and Victoria is the same material. So what's that tell you? We have a lot of it. It starts at surface here. Our deepest pierce point's 200 meters with a drill. We're going to outline a fantastic amount of this mineralization. Is it a sulfide nickel play? Or is it a zinc copper play? Drilling's going to tell the tale. And our drilling is it's just started. We're going to have to drill a lot more, and we're going to have to go deeper. We drilled over here a little bit, and we also drilled at Lalonde a little bit. So that's the nickel sulfide polymetallic story. The other thing happening at the Malartic Metals Package, up here, you remember this black dash line is the Cadillac break.
Yeah.
So within less than a kilometer from the Cadillac break, we have the Beaupré copper discovery. We discovered copper. We don't know much about it. We stripped it. We see it on surface. We did some soil work. This is where things get interesting. We did some soil work to try and track the copper a bit better, and we came up with a gold anomaly. We're so close to Cadillac break, there's any
Wow.
number of things that could be happening though, right? So this property is fantastic. It does the question of gold is not off the table with this property. It does occur at Victoria as well. We've seen it a couple times. Um, but we're early days here. We're just at the very beginning of what this property and project is going to is
But you've
going
got enough there. You've got enough there that you've got something to potentially really talk about. We'll know more about that later this year. But more importantly, as a company, you're not a one-trick pony,
Oh no,
right?
no, and
You've
I'll
got
speak
Parbec, you
just
got the
real
Malartic
quick.
Metals Package.
Yeah, and then the one in Ontario, Nixon Bartleman in Ontario. I'll speak real quick to the two other things on the slide, just in case people want to know. Pegmatite zone down here in the south of the property, we have numerous pegmatites. We also have lithium in the sediments. We do not have spodumene in a pegmatite yet. It's on our radar to look for it, but honestly, Victoria is so much more important than can we find a pegmatite with spodumene in it that we're not really advancing, that there's enough people advancing that lithium story around the
Well,
world.
I'm glad you said that because I was about to say devil's advocate. At some point, you've got to really focus in because you're not big enough of a company to take on all of this. It's good to know they're there for the future, but your main
Yeah,
focus is going to be right there, Victoria.
Victoria, the two and a
I mean,
half
you can see it
kilometers
light up
from the
there,
road.
orange,
Yeah,
red, yellow. It's all lit up. You
yeah.
got to stick with that.
Up here, we haven't actually sampled this structure. We can't explain, is this blob related to this blob? Can't do that yet. On the margins of this blob, there are very long intervals of very low-grade gold that were drilled historically. Again, to George's point, to your point, it's not our focus. Our focus here is Victoria. We are pushing to bring to market Quebec's newest nickel zinc play, possibly with copper. If we can find the copper, we see the edges of a VMS. If we can find the VMS, the game changes 180, like it changes entirely.
Well, is that devil's advocate, Nicole? Is that easier said than done? If we can
Absolutely.
find the edge of the VMS, or do you have a really good beat
Well,
on it?
we know there's a VMS lurking because we're seeing the edges of it. We were working with a fellow who's gone now, but he was world renowned for his VMS exploration techniques. Geochemically and geostatistically, he could see that there was a VMS out there, but VMS is a blind body. It's 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 really hard to find a VMS. Um, but as we work to develop what we can see, the ultramafic is very magnetic. It's very easy to see, and the sulfides, the zinc, we do get EM from the sulfides, so we can see half of the
In English, because there are going to be a lot of
right.
people saying, "What is she
We can
talking
see
about right
this.
now?"
We can see this with geophysics. Can't really see this so much. See a little bit of it with geophysics. But, combining all the exploration techniques as we move forwards, we will keep our eyes open to see if we can figure out where the VMS is lurking. Um, the other important thing I should tell you about this, I will, much to the frustration of my geologists, because we don't know enough yet for me to say this, but based on what we know today, knowing that it could change in the future, I'll tell you that it's a low-grade nickel sulfide polymetallic. Now, that's okay because we sent material to a company in Germany. They can sort the mineralized material from the waste. So that means we can take the mineralized material and concentrate it. Now, back up a step. Grade is a function of the metal, the weight percentage of metal. So if it's 5% copper in a hole and 95% waste, I shouldn't use copper of all metals. Anyway, if it's 5% pink fluffy things in a hole that's 100, if we can take away 95% of the waste, then all you're left with is your material.
Mhm.
So sorting is exciting. It allows us to raise the grade artificially because we're removing the waste. The other thing we announced last week on this property, which is super exciting, is we did our first pass metallurgical work supported by a grant from the government of Quebec. And what that metallurgical, we were just trying to characterize, tell us what minerals the metals are sitting in. And what that told us is they're all standard. They all should be able to be processed conventionally. That's a big deal. That means no funky heap
Mhm.
leaching or anything
Yeah,
complex.
very important.
Very, very bog standard stuff, which is important if we go back to this map. Can you see the
Yep.
yellow map now? The Horn smelter's sitting right here. So if we were to mine and concentrate on this property, that's a forward-looking statement, a lot of work to do. We could deliver the concentrate right here.
That's the advantage of being in a great neighborhood. You're not sitting there in the tundra by yourself, alone, with
Trying to come
resources
up with a
issues.
hovercraft or something. No, we're
Right.
we're
So
right
the
there.
last question for you. Last
Right.
question for Nicole. Um, why do you, and we won't talk a lot about this, but I just want to hear your opinion. Why is it you think the market till now has not attributed better value to you guys? And by we're not giving financial advice, you're not giving a price projection, but clearly you believe, and from what we're looking at, the market has not attributed perhaps the correct valuation to you. Why do you think that is?
Well, of course, I agree with that statement. And I'm going to answer you with a couple of things and not throwing any shade at any of my peers. But, like, okay, capital has been incredibly hard to get a hold of. So the
Absolutely.
capital I get goes in the ground. I don't get paid. The other officer, the company, the CFO, doesn't get paid. We accrue on the balance sheet as debt, and every once in a while we pay that debt out in the form of shares, and those shares cannot be issued at a price below 5 cents. So,
Put your money where your mouth is.
in the ground. It also means that I don't have a ton of money to throw around in some fancy marketing deals. I've tried a few things, but by and large, nobody's listening. So, I'm not going to spend cash that I have to work so hard to get to talk to people who aren't really listening. What I chose to do was to take that cash and to move the real tangible assets of the company forward scientifically as far as I can while nobody's watching, because I firmly believe
Bravo.
people will wake up, they'll pay attention, they'll look at us and go, well, how did we not know about this? Well, you know now. So do something about it, right?
Well, Terry Lynch, one of our clients, Power Nickel, now Power Polymetallic, said the same thing on one of our initial interviews. He actually said people would be embarrassed knowing they could have bought our stock at this price and didn't buy it. And he's right, because it's up about 800% from there. I'm not, again, for everyone watching, listening, I'm not saying that Renforth is going to go up 800% or more or less, but it's the same concept. And what I like about what you said there, Nicole, is, and by the way, most people know, but Agoracom is helping you on the
I set
marketing,
the
but
table for you.
we're shares for services, right? And we can't get stock under 5 cents, so we're only here because we believe in what you're building and what this is going to be in the next 2-3 years. So you're not throwing cash at us either or anybody. You're doing
And
the right thing.
you're taking a haircut. You're taking a haircut.
Technically today, but in our opinion, and again, we're not giving price projections, we're not giving financial advice. We don't think it'll be a haircut in the future. We think it'll catch up to that minimum 5 cent issuance number, so we're not overly worried about it. But Nicole, we could talk for another hour, but I give you full credit. Look, I'll end with this. You were right by putting the money in the ground and moving everything forward. You could have wasted on promotion 2, 3, 4 years ago when the resource industry was almost dead and buried. Nobody wanted to hear from it. And now people want to hear from it, and you've moved everything forward as far as you can. So right now you're looking like a genius. Now it's just a case of closing up one or two of these, the whole company, whatever it is you want to do, but you put yourself in the right position. That's what my objective viewpoint is. Last words to you, my friend.
No, well, I appreciate the forum. I appreciate the opportunity to work with you. And I hope people can appreciate that what we have in Renforth is real tangible assets, a gold deposit and a proven large scale polymetallic system in probably some of the best, the most fantastic location we could ask for. And we'll continue to do what we're doing, which is put the money in the ground and drill the holes, do the mapping, do the sampling, and growing the story, the scientific side of the story.
And I
That's
love
all.
what you guys have done. So many people waste so much money on just to get a stock price going, but then it becomes big hat, no cattle, no sizzle. But you guys, you got your
Oh, and it's
updated.
not forever. I'm not naive. I'd love to say I was
At
naive.
some point, you're
I
going to
can
crank it up.
no, but I could go out and buy the marketing program my peers do, which juices their stock price, but it only lasts for a finite amount of time. When that program ends, the stock price plummets. So it's not forever. What I'm building is forever. We've outlined metals in the ground that aren't going anywhere now. They've got to
Love it.
come to surface, they got to change again, but what we're building is real.
I
So,
love that. I love that last statement. I love that's the best way to end it right there. Thanks for joining us, Nicole. And normally I'd say, hey, what's next? Or what? But we know at some point this updated resource estimate is coming out. So I look forward to seeing you again in the next week or two, whatever it's going to be. But it sounds like it's imminent. Thanks for
yeah.
joining us. And for everybody at home, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And for existing Renforth Resources shareholders, hopefully you got some new information here. But more importantly, you've got some new marketing buzz going on. So make sure to like, comment, share this. Look for the clips we're going to be putting out. Look for the multilingual clips. You're going to see some German and Chinese and Arabic come out of all this. Look for all this. Start sharing with your people because if you love Renforth the way Nicole does and the way I'm starting to love it, then we got a lot to do. And I'm looking forward to a great relationship together. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
Thank you.
Hey, small cap fam. I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agoracom? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agoracom small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.